Well, it's the second week of ownership of our Rivian R1S, and it's taken on a new look. Let's go inside and see what's going on. One week after owning it, we got an air light on the dash saying it's the service suspension system. And what we've developed is that the suspension no longer goes up and down and is stuck down. In addition, we've never been able to update it. This is causing a series of problems. As you can see, we've barely got any clearance on this front wheel now, and it's pulling really bad to this side. On the driver's side, it is still up an inch or two. Inside the vehicle, when I started up by applying the brake, we have developed a whole series of warning lights on the dash. Service suspension system soon pops up. In addition, we have a warning light for the suspension, for the ride height, for the lane departure, and for the cruise control, none of which are working. If I put the vehicle in drive, it does still go, but the auto high beams are unavailable. In addition, we've been unable to do the updates on the vehicle. And it says we're up to date, but we're on version 47.0. They had sent out 47.2 for us to try, but the vehicle wouldn't update it. So if we go to the vehicle drive modes, you normally can set your suspension to different heights. Currently, the vehicle is in snow mode with the suspension at low. However, if I try to change the mode, like go to all purpose, it gives me an error over here when I push it. It says to change this ride height, service air suspension. So we are stuck in snow mode and have been for the last week now. And with that, the vehicle has slowly lowered itself down to, as I demonstrated, the wheels are almost rubbing on the fenders. Essentially, it is riding all the way bottomed out in the front suspension on the right and mostly bottomed out on the left, causing the vehicle to pull very badly. And really, we can't change anything else. If I go to sport, it would lower the height and let air out, I believe, but then we'd be even lower and rougher riding. I don't know that it really matters because I can't really drive it anyways, so I'm going to try that here and see if it actually will allow it to ride. Nope, it actually doesn't. It gives me the change ride height, service air suspension, so it's not working at all. Again, if I go to off-road, it will say go off-road, but then it will air out that the suspension needs to be serviced. Secondary issues that we're having, which we initially had when we took delivery, is a lot of wind noise along the A-pillar on this side, a very small amount on the A-pillar on that side. Also, the rear windshield wiper does not work. If I push the button to run the rear wiper, you can hear the motor running and the pump running, but you don't get any fluid. A real blurry picture is you're unable to wash the rear camera. As I said, these are minor issues as far as the rear camera and the wind noise, but the vehicle is not roadworthy after 8 days of ownership. One of our major concerns in buying this vehicle was how will the vehicle be serviced, given that the nearest service center is 3 hours away and we don't have any dealerships nearby. So our initial experiences so far have been positive, but we'll have to wait and see how things turn out. And it's a little frustrating to have a car break down after 1 week of ownership. So with the initial problems, the wind noise and the camera not working, I had contacted Rivian and let them know that it wasn't working. They had agreed to immediately take care of it whenever we wanted, but we would need to get the vehicle down to the service center. They would come pick up the vehicle and provide us with a rental car, but given it's the middle of the winter, that's kind of a hassle we didn't need since I'd already sold our other vehicle. But with the development of these new problems, we got into touch with Rivian and they were able to, over the phone, diagnose that they feel this is likely a failure of the 12-volt battery system in the vehicle. It has 2 backup 12-volt batteries in addition to the main power battery. The vehicle is unable to update because of this lack of power in the 12-volt system, which apparently the batteries are defective. So the hope is that possibly if they replace the batteries, that the system will then update and all of the other problems may go away. Because we are unable to drive the vehicle, Rivian also has agreed to provide us with the Toyota Camry as a rental car. Obviously they're not equivalent vehicles, but they are taking care of us. I've tried a few remedies on my own to see if we can fix this 12-volt battery problem, to see if we can fix it. With my previous ownership of the Nissan Leaf that I had a first generation Leaf of 2011. If you fast charge the vehicle too much, 12-volt battery sometimes wouldn't charge sufficiently. So you would need to slow charge it. So I did do a slow charge with no effect. I wish there was some way to check the status of the 12-volt battery system myself and to actually charge the batteries up to full to do the update. Then we possibly could test this theory before waiting longer. I would say that the Rivian customer service agents, for the most part, have all been excellent and responded to questions quickly. My initial complaint came in on a Sunday when the vehicle first developed the suspension problems. They were on that day responsive to questions, and also they arranged for our rental car on a Sunday, which would be unheard of with other manufacturers to get that kind of service on a Sunday. So far I'm impressed with that. So the mobile service truck is coming tomorrow to replace the 2 batteries and update all the software for us to see if this fixes our problem. The 12-volt battery is somewhere here under the frunk. They're going to be popping off a panel here or possibly popping out the frunk itself. I'm not exactly sure. With our location, unfortunately, we are going to end up 10 days from our initial complaint before they get here tomorrow to service it for the first time. They were able to do some mobile diagnostics, or at least we know some problems. And hopefully they're right in that this solves the problems for now. And hopefully they can fix the wipers and all the other problems tomorrow. If that's unclear, we'll wait and see what happens tomorrow when the tech shows up. So when Rivian comes to service, they come in their big van. They've got a power awning they can put out with lights, so I think they can work on when people are there, then they have all their tools and parts in the van. So Kiana's keeping an eye on it for him. So Dane, what did you do to the Rivian?
We replaced the batteries.
Where are the batteries, Dane?
Here, there.
Oh, these batteries here run the whole car?
Nope.
Oh, what do they run?
This like the cabin lights and sensors.
Computers?
Yeah.
What else do you see in here that you
Fan, brake fluid. So this one is coolant, washer fluid.
Where's the blinker fluid go?
It goes right in these things.
What are those things?
Computers, probably.
No, what did I call them before? Those are inverters.
Oh yeah.
So the power comes from the main battery to those, and then that sends it to controls the power going to the motor. Maybe, no, actually, you know what? I think you were right. I think those might be computers or controllers for the cooling system for the battery cooling. I think the inverters are actually down on the motors on these. I think they'd be bigger than that. There's not big enough power going into those. Well, it's been 2 days since the technician was here to repair our Rivian. Unfortunately, despite replacing the 12-volt batteries, the suspension is down and none of our problems really have been fixed. He was not able to update the system and all of our air lights are still on. We are now have owned the vehicle as of today 3 weeks, of which it has been operable 8 of those days. The rest of the time it has been disabled. We were told on Wednesday that they would come and pick the vehicle up to bring it down to the repair center, which is 3 hours from us. In learning about that process, we learned that on this situation, the haul down would be covered since it's not drivable, but it would be up to us to either pay for it to be brought back to us or to get a ride back to the vehicle. I did object to that, given that we only have had the vehicle for a week when it broke, and that did not seem very reasonable. And some of the tickets we filed as far as repairs were things that didn't work on arrival. They did agree that they would cover getting it back to us, but it does make us start questioning whether this is a good idea to own a complicated vehicle like this 3 hours from a service center. I've owned a Nissan Leaf, first generation 2011. I had that for a year. I purchased it used. I had no problems with it. And to have this much trouble right off the bat is concerning. Mitsubishi Outlander PHEVs that we owned, again, we had no issues. And it makes us wonder if this is the right vehicle for us. It's been very time-consuming and frustrating process. I have logged multiple tickets initially. You get called by a different person every time. They're very friendly and very polite, but they don't know the whole story, and I don't think they get the whole picture as to what's going on. The first tow company they set us up with on Wednesday canceled today, Friday, saying that they weren't going to come get it. So the vehicle is still sitting here. They've hired a new company that was supposed to be here about 2 hours ago, and they have not come yet. And it's unclear if they're going to come tonight either. I really don't want to just put it outside. We've been having 20 below weather, and that's just not a good idea either. So we're just sitting and waiting and hoping that it becomes clear to us whether we should unfortunately move this vehicle along and go back to a Chevy Silverado again, which is what I sold 2 days after we got this, which we had absolutely zero problems with. But honestly was impressed with the 23, 24 miles per gallon highway I could get with that. Although not as ideal. Cost-wise, running that Silverado, given its lower sticker price, came in at 43 cents a mile, where I have this calculated at 41 cents a mile long term. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about in one of these videos is, are vehicles like this affordable? And I think if you live near a service center, yes, it can be. With subtracting the cost of gas to have a vehicle this size and this much capability, it really does lower the cost significantly, especially since we got this at the lower initial price. It comes well in under any gas vehicle that you could buy, whether that be a Tahoe or a Suburban or anything along those lines, albeit this is a little bit smaller than those. They are considerably more per mile when you put in the cost of fuel, insurance, maintenance. This really comes out as a more cost-effective option. So we'll wait tonight and see if they come. I really have no particular understanding as to how long it's going to take to repair and where we're going to go from there. We're thankful that we have a rental car to get by, but it just isn't the same, and quite disappointing when we waited 4 years for this.
So the Rivian was picked up on a Sunday and returned the following Friday. We had provided them with a list of things that needed to be fixed. First and foremost, obviously, was the suspension system failure. What they stated was the cause of the suspension system failure was actually the cause of all of the problems in their best guess, and that is that the system failed to update properly when we got an over-the-air update. Apparently in the background the computer was continually trying to do something, and that caused the 12-volt battery system to fail, which then caused all of the other systems to fail, and somehow caused the actual compressor to fail on the air suspension system. And then when the tech came to fix it, he was unable to fix it because the compressor was actually bad. So they replaced the compressor and did the updates, ultimately got all of that working. We'd also let them know that our wristband didn't work for a key, and they replaced that. We also had complained that the front washer fluid didn't hit the windshield, and they stated they fixed that, but it still didn't hit the windshield. It would hit below the windshield wipers and was essentially mostly useless. They did fix the back washer. The service technician also drove it and stated that the wind noise we were noticing on the driver's side was normal and that we should not be concerned by it. It was a very loud and obnoxious wind noise, however. So after the Rivian was back, we, as you have seen in our other video, did take it on our next adventure up to the State High School ski meet and continued to have issues on that trip. I had to reset the computer system on that trip several times and do complete resets. And essentially, while this is going on, we continued to have to reset the computer or do a screen reset because something would lock up about every other day.
Also can demonstrate that we've fixed our noisy A-pillar, which is common on R1s that we see on the logs. You take a piece of napkin and you fold it up and open the window a little bit and wedge it in there. We are working on trying to come up with a better solution to that. Rivian states that that's normal, but it can be quieted down a lot if you put a napkin in there.